Welcome to the Secret Keepers podcast with your host, Corrine Zutleger. Join us as we uncover the hidden thoughts, stories, and moments that help bring light to the healing power of truth and examine how silence can affect us mentally, physically, and spiritually. We'll also share profound stories, interviews, and transformative narratives to help release ourselves from the hidden and step into healing towards inner peace, joy, and fulfillment. Now, here's your healing strategist and host, Corrine.
Welcome to the Secret Keepers podcast. Today, I have a very, very special guest, and his name is Paul Martinelli. He is been my coach, my mentor, my friend, and I am so excited for you all to hear the journey that he has been on. And I'm going to have Paul just tell you a little bit about everything that he does.
Oh, well, thank you. This is awesome. And congratulations, because, I know this is a long time coming, isn't it?
It is.
You have a vision for casting, we all do this, right? We have this vision for casting our voice. And then we have our Moses moment, don't we? Right? We feel the calling. We're tending to the sheep. We see the burning bush. We know it's God calling us forward. And then we say, but who am I? Right?
Exactly.
Who am I? Hold it. God, you got it wrong. You got to be talking about my brother or my sister or somebody other than me. Who am I to lead people? I can't do that. And, even though God gives us the miracles right in front of us and sets the stage and makes the promises, until we can find that within ourselves, right? And find the faith and the trust in ourselves to make that journey.
For sure.
We keep tending sheep, right? And we don't start leading people.
Are you sure?
And here you are. So it's beautiful to see you do this and knowing what you had to do to be here, right? Knowing the boogeyman that you had to tackle, right? And we all do. We all have that we have to tackle. So, I think my story is everybody's story at some level, right? I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and from a very early age, my father left the family when my mom was 3 months pregnant with me, and when most children start to talk, I didn't. I didn't talk, and then when I started to talk, I had a really debilitating stutter. And what I didn't know then was that stuttering isn't a neurological problem. It's an emotional problem in most cases. And for me, life and death begins in the tongue, doesn't it? For me, because of the secret I was keeping, right? And the secrets I was keeping of 430 Coolidge Avenue, where I grew up, that's what was causing me to stutter. I was literally, the secret was so buried deep within me, and the fear of screwing up and letting that secret out and the consequence of the physical, emotional abuse of letting that secret slip caused me to just stutter. My speaking was fear for me, right? And so, along with the stutterer, came all the abuse that comes with it, right? None of us get off the playground of life safe. There's always, there's a dominant culture of influence on the playground of the other kids, and there's always something different about all of us that they can latch onto. And for me, it was that I stuttered. So I was teased and picked on, and that forms self-belief. Our beliefs are created two ways: through an emotional sudden impact or through spaced repetition of time. And so, I had the emotional impact of being, picked on and bullied. And then I had the repetition of being told that I was dumb and stupid and dumb and stupid. And so, you tell a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old that they're dumb and stupid long enough, sooner or later, they begin to believe that. And I think the interesting thing for me is that so many people put so much, weight on, DNA and our environment. And, yet I've got two older brothers and an older sister, one brother with a PhD from Carnegie Mellon University, another from a degree in microbiology from the University of Pittsburgh. My sister graduated #1 in her nurse class, and I failed out of school after the 10th grade, barely made it out of the 10th grade. And, so we had the same DNA, and we grew up in the same house, right? It was 430 Coolidge Avenue. We went to Lincoln Elementary, Jefferson Junior High School, Mount Lebanon High School. So it was the same environment. But what was different was our self-belief. They didn't face the same kind of level of bullying that I had, and they weren't programmed that they, would never amount to anything. But I did. And so, I find that we rise to the lowered expectations of those around us. And so, I fell out of school, and, I did my time in the wilderness, and at 22 years old, I started my first business. And I really think through divine intervention, when I was about 2 years into that business, 24 years old, Patrick Hayes came into my life, gave me a book, Think and Grow Rich, and started to mentor me, and really taught me how to think. Up until that time, everybody in my life had an agenda on what I should think. Nobody had ever taught me how to think. And Patrick began to unpack that for me. And that would unleash in me a thirst for knowledge, a thirst for truth, and would lead me down the rabbit hole of, some of the most prolific writers on the field of human potential and behavior. And I, like you, I'm one of those people. There's not a seminar I don't want to go to.
Yeah.
There's not a witchy, scary, seance, tarot card, candle lighting, mystic that you could scare me with. I want to try it all. And not only do I want to try it all, I'm willing to harvest the good from any of it, right? Find the truth in each of it that leads us back to, our soul's journey, back to our oneness of awareness with God. And I did that. And luckily for me, at least in my journey, it actually led me back to my, my Christian roots.
Yeah.
Because, my journey was one of, where is God? And then F God.
Yes, I've been there.
Been there. But the God of my upbringing was this old man on the cloud who had severe anger management problems, and who I would never live up to then actually, finding, God, and then wanting an understanding in a relationship. And so it's been life-changing for me. And as a result of that, as you expand into those levels of awareness, results begin to change, right? You change on the inside, and then the outward world, your world, changes. And my world did. And it led to just explosive growth in that business. I would go on to build several other multi-million-dollar companies. I've generated 6 of those companies that have done over $1 billion, built the largest training company in the world with over 40,000 certified coaches, lead a huge community online. And just now, at 58 years old, pretty much retired, financially have reached, pretty much any goal I want, I've reached financially. And I've got a beautiful life. It took me 2 marriages to figure out how to be married. But I, the same way, I've kind of done every, the saying, how you do anything is how you do everything in life. My motto has just been, just don't quit quitting. That's how I quit smoking. I quit smoking 100 times before I quit, but I just never quit quitting. Right.
Awesome.
Until finally it stuck. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm married. I live in Jupiter, Florida. I've got 2 stepsons that are basically my children because I've been with them for so long, a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they're beautiful, and you've got a great life. But that looks beautiful in the display case. But man, if you go to the back of the shop, it's a bloody mess back there, man. Right? If you saw how the sausage was made and what it took for me, very much like you,
Yeah.
very much like you. I mean, it's, you know, you start pulling back the layers of the onion, as we do when we are on this journey of self-discovery. And just as soon as you think you got it, man, there's a new level of awareness that puts you right back at the beginning point.
The punch in the nose for you.
Hey, congratulations, wake up, boom. You know, it's like you know, I lived on the ocean for 14 years at a beautiful place on I think you were probably there at the ocean condo on Jupiter, Florida. I live right on the ocean. And I felt like, you know, the sea turtle, you know, this little sea turtle, you know, you watch it get birth, you know, the mom comes up and digs the hole and drops the egg and she buries it, and you sit there and you watch it and you watch it, and all of a sudden you see the earth move, and then, you know, this beautiful little soul comes out, and then it's a race for its life because everything in the world is trying to eat it. And even when it makes to the safety of, you know, of the shoreline, you know, God's dinner bell has been rung, and every sea creature is waiting to eat it, right? And so you get to this layer of this onion. It's like this, oh wow, I got this new level of awareness, and life says, hey, great, welcome, boom.
That's exactly.
You know, now deal with this, and there's a new level of pop quiz from life. But the toys are better this time. The wine's better, you know, the location's better.
Yeah.
You're in a different tax bracket, you know, so at least you're comfortable while you're being tortured. I'm
Right.
sorry?
The bounce back is faster, right?
Yeah.
Because at this level of awareness, it's like, now I know, and then I see it, and it's like, you know, it's kind of,
Yeah.
you know, it's not like you're gonna sit there and bleed and bleed and bleed. It's more like when you hit that little thing and it pops back up, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, now you've got resources. Now you've got resources.
Yeah,
You don't
exactly.
start, you know, you don't start wondering, you know, how incomplete you are. You recognize your resourcefulness. You recognize you're fully resourced, and that, you know, you're fully equipped, and that, you know, this season has come to serve you, to, you know, allow you to grow to your next, you know, evolution. I've always said that the content of your life is the curriculum of your evolution.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what content, whether it's a divorce, a bankruptcy, you know, an illness, a betrayal, whatever that is, all that is content. And it's content that, if used right, can become the curriculum for you to evolve to your next level of awareness, or you repeat the class again.
Yep, exactly. And one of my favorite things I learned from you is it's a you and you deal. You know,
Period.
because
Yeah.
this is really about, like you mentioned, you know, you have these siblings, and you know, they didn't go through the things that you did on the playground. They were experiencing the same home life, but the playground stuff really fed into you and made you believe certain things about yourself that really weren't true. And so you had to unpack all of that so that you could move forward. And I know that part of that journey was you really taking a look at in forgiveness, and really looking at your mom and recognizing, you know, the human, love the human, right? Love the human being, and separating her behavior and being able to reconcile that level of forgiveness. And you even wrote a book about the epilogue, the extra missing chapters to Think and Grow Rich. And that had a huge impact on me as well.
Mm.
Good thing. And I know that that was a big part of healing for you as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. And, you know, I think that was my first work, you know. So when when I was growing up, my brothers and sisters had the escape of school, and I didn't have that, right? So school was just another place for me to be bullied, you know. So I'd leave 430 Coolidge Avenue in, you know, I can remember being third grade, so you're 8 or 9 years old, right? And, you know, walking in the classroom and the teacher looking at me like terrified and taking me down, the nurses, because I had a big black eye and a fat lip, you know. And you know, I give them grace because it was 1970, so it was different.
Yeah.
So they knew what was going on, but you didn't talk about it, right? But going to school didn't provide me the safety that it did, so I'd walk out of being bullied by my mom and then right back into the, from the fire to the firing pan, right into the fire, from the pan to the fire into school. So I never had that break. And so when I first started, my journey of, quote unquote, personal growth, where most people start in vision casting or, goal setting, I didn't have the luxury of that because I couldn't even get there. My first journey had to do forgiveness work. And I'm glad I did it because, I started deep. And then I think what happens is for people who don't start deep, they don't realize how deep it is. And eventually you're getting there.
Yeah.
Eventually you're going to meet yourself.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to, you're going to have to go back and do all the healing that you have to do. And
pretend. I can pretend that when I pop the hood open that I don't see the oil leak.
Oh, sure.
I can pretend that's not really there, but down the line, it's going to show up in an even bigger way. And I tell this to clients as well, is that, it's uncomfortable. Nobody said this was going to be easy.
Oh yeah, no, right.
This journey, you've said this before, it's not for the faint of heart. It takes grit and perseverance to really dig in and take a really good look under the hood and see what's going on with me, because projection of blame is way more fun.
Oh my goodness.
So much more fun to just push it out on someone else. But right, it's to heal in the heart, inside of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you learn that if you'll do what's hard, your life becomes easy. And if you do what's easy, your life becomes hard.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and it's so true.
Oh, I mean, the longer the longer you live in the shadow, boy, when the light comes, it can be blinding.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is hard to take a look at. And, like when you're talking about the light and the shadow, like there's the dark and the light side of us. We don't need to get rid of, because I hear that often, like, I need to get rid of my shadow and I need to, like you're basically gonna, no, we'll become one with it, right? We live in harmony, in a harmony with it, right? Because when the shadow starts to come out, I see it. And now because I have an awareness of it and I'm like, oh, I see you. And what do you need? Oh, you need a hug, or you need some validation, or, and give it what it needs. I don't need to squash it out.
Yeah, but I think it was the Dalai Lama who called it, your sacred friend.
Yeah.
Right. Your shadow can teach you more about forgiveness than anybody else. It can teach you more about, compassion and empathy and love and, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
If you'll allow it to, right?
Exactly. And it's humbling.
Yeah, it's both it's both the biblical principles of blessing and a curse, isn't it? Right.
It is. It really is. And like for me, some of the deeper work that I had to do was, to forgive people that were no longer here.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's like, so I'm, but
arguing with the dead, right?
Arguing with the dead and really, bringing that to the surface, allowing that to come up out of my body to heal, and letting it in the light, and really, that's, this whole podcast, being able to talk about those things that maybe are a little hard, in order to stretch, and then heal. And you have walked such a beautiful journey. And I know it hasn't been perfect. But you have a beautiful life now. You have a beautiful wife and two, awesome stepsons, and and everything you could dream of. But the most important piece of that is you have peace of mind. You have this calmness and this this presence within you, and your relationship with God is like the number one relationship. And so you're tuned in, plugged in, and that, everything that you do, you ripple out. I mean, you had such a huge impact on me
Mm.
and my family and so many other families. I mean, so many people that I know, that you've taken everything that you've learned along the way and you have paid that forward. And to me, that is so beautiful because it could be easy to just take it and hoard it and be like, oh, nope, I'm just gonna hold this in here. But you don't do that. You go out and you're educating the masses on how to do the hard stuff.
Well, the only way to keep it is to give it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that's the only way to do it, right? The only way to ensure that you maximize the level of awareness you're in, and to get to the next level of awareness is take others with you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that goes like into legacy. When I had joined the John Maxwell team, it was like, the table talk I had to do, it was, I picked one of his laws, and my favorite one was the law of legacy. I wanted to, I want to make a difference. I want to impact. I want to leave something here and make the world a better place. And 8 years later, that's what I'm doing. It may not have been the microwave moment. I might not have hit the easy button, but I kept putting one foot in front of the other.
Yep.
And that made a big difference. And then, I go with that voice, and I have always listened to your voice. It may not always be right up in there, but I'm always listening to your voice because I hear you, and I hear you in things that come out of my mouth, and I'm like, oh, that was a Paulism.
Yeah.
It's been good. It's been good, and I'm grateful. And so like you talked about Think and Grow Rich, and you talked about how Patrick helped you, and mentored you. And so mentorship is a really big thing for you.
Bet.
And
Yeah.
you have mentored many, and you continue to mentor people. Yeah. And so with all of that, I would like for you to give the audience just one nugget of wisdom. And I know it's going to be so hard to like narrow it down with you because you have like a gazillion nuggets of wisdom. But just one nugget of wisdom that you gained from bringing your secret to light.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple that tie in together, right? And
Yeah.
the first is you have to ask yourself, is this mine to carry? Right? This
Mhm.
really, so you've got to do your work, and you can't do God's work, right? And
Mhm.
and some, certainly getting even and keeping the score isn't your work, right? So the minute you realize, okay, I'm not doing my work, I'm doing somebody else's work, what happens is you become clear on what your work is,
Mm.
right? So when I no longer had to carry the grudge or be the punisher, to seek revenge, right?
Mhm.
Even the score, whatever idiom you want to use. When I realized this wasn't my mine to do, right? Then all of a sudden there's all this space, and this space, fills with awareness of what is yours to do. And what happens is I think for most people is when we begin to see what's ours to do, it scares us to death because it's so much bigger than we've ever allowed ourselves to see ourselves,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
What I've come to learn is that which we see, that calling that we see, is not something for us to aspire to. It's not something for us to become. It's a reflection of what's already done. Everything's created twice. So, by the time you see or become aware of this calling, this desire of your heart, Desire is the effort of the unexpressed possibility already within you, seeking expression, seeking birth, desire, DE-SIR, to give birth to, seeking expression with and through you. But it's a reflection of what's done. It's not a predictive model. It's what's already done. And you don't have to go get anything. This idea of being, we program our children to be go-getters.
Yeah.
We don't go get anything. You're already full. The moment you become aware of what that thing is, what that calling is, the moment you have the awareness of it, you are fully resourced with all the skill, talent, ability, and potential to become it. And that's the journey. The journey isn't to get, it's to become. And the moment you really grasp that there's nothing that you need to do other than be. It's what Gandhi said. I wish he'd have said it more clearly, where he just said, be the change. It's that simple. It really is. Emerson said, do the thing, and then you get the energy to do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he wasn't talking about the physical stamina. He was talking about the skill, the talent, the ability, the resource, the courage, the strength, the money, the time, the skill, whatever it is. But our job is to work within the universal laws of creation, and it's a call and response. Right? Emerson said, in a universe governed by law, cause and effect is the law of all laws. Mm-hmm. And you were never created to be on the effect side of that equation. Your job is to be causative. So you step out and do the thing that you haven't yet developed the dexterity to be skilled at or good at. And so you're gonna fail in the process. But that's how you've learned to do everything. So you step out and do that thing. And when you do that thing, what you get is a result. And you need a result in order to improve a result. And so you do the thing, and then you get the awareness of, oh, that didn't work. Yes. I should have done this way. Let me try that again. And then so you do the thing, and then you get the energy, the skill, talent, ability, resource, awareness to do the thing. And I think if there's one thing, it's understanding that which you are aware of for your highest calling is not a predictive model. It's a reflective model. It's already done in the mind of God. It's already done. It's done. Jesus said, I have mansions in heaven for you. Already done. Mm-hmm. Everything already built. All you have to do is become aware of your oneness with the skill, talent, ability, resource, and potential to do it. Yeah. That requires faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the oneness with the energy, right? The oneness with God, like me directly plugged into God, me plugged into you, plugged into my neighbors, plugged into everybody is right? To the earth, to the trees, to the we had a dog, and I'm telling you, I 100% know that dog understood everything I said when I talked to her, even though she didn't always listen.
No, of course not. Well, she's a dog. But I mean, if you just think, the chances, if with your best planning and my best planning, your best thinking and my best thinking would never have brought us together. Right? We couldn't have made this happen.
No. No.
The moment you have a dream, you're instantly connected with everybody, everything, every resource necessary for. If it's somebody on the other side of the world, you'll be connected with them. Mm-hmm. It doesn't, and I look, and sometimes I just test it just to screw with it, just to see if it's unbelievable. I sit here as a high school dropout.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've traded $1 billion when I sold my last business, I was doing 3 million a month, almost $1 million a week. $1 million a week.
Jeez.
It's $200,000 a day. Just think about that for a second. It's $200,000. Like, how does a high school dropout do that?
Yeah.
I had no idea. Trust me, I had no idea. All I did was what was mine to do the day I woke up that day. And I just kept doing, my job is just to do what's the next card that's played. I'm trusting the process.
Yes, I did the same thing. I had read another book, and in that book, it referenced Think and Grow Rich. I got and do what people do. I get on the internet, I Google it. It pulls up this study. Well, lo and behold, who's doing this study?
Yeah.
But Paul Martinelli. And I'm like, oh, I met him. I met him in August of 2016. I'm like, well, yeah, sign me up. And I've been there ever since, and it was like just following that intuitive hit of like, do this thing, right? That intuitive hit is really God talking to me saying, do this thing, like, find this. And then I found you. And then whenever I kind of feel like I'm getting off of this path, I just come back, and I listen to that voice and I'm like,
Yeah.
here you are again. There you are. You're like your little Paulisms are really, they stick with me in your teachings, and I could listen to you talk all day.
Oh, well, thank you.
I could. I mean, and I say talk, but I mean teach, because that's what you do when you're talking, is you're always teaching. There's always something. And I also know you do amazing work with sales. So people who have sales that they want to become better salespeople, whatever the business is, you can work with them in their sales development.
Yeah, I look at sales. What I've realized is, when we become aware of our calling, another word for that, like we use the word calling, and doesn't that sound, spiritual and enlightened, or we call it a dream. It's also an agenda. You got an agenda.
Mhm.
And everybody you meet has an agenda. And make no mistake about it, what you're doing today, what I'm doing today, and what all of your listeners are doing today is we're all doing the exact same thing for the exact same purpose. And that is, we are going to do the very best that we are capable of doing, utilizing all of the resources, the conditions, and the circumstances that we have to control and manipulate all the resources we have to get our wants and our needs met today.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. Every single one of us is going to do. So we all have an agenda. And so what I've realized is a big part of goal achievement is being able to sell your agenda to other people, no matter what that goal is. If you're a painter, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Great. Well, then, you got to get a studio. You got to get the money to buy the paint. You've got to, you got to get people to buy the painting. There's all kinds of, you've got an agenda. And so you've got to sell people on your ideas. And so that means that you've got to ethically, that's the difference in manipulation. You can have negative manipulation, or you need to be able to ethically influence people.
Yeah.
And that's really, if you think what sales is your skill or ability to ethically influence other people, emotional experience, right? The transference of the emotion of certainty to cause the other person to feel so certain in your agenda and so certain in your ability to get it done that they say, you know what? I'm willing to suspend my thinking or my judgment, and my gut tells me I'm going to go with it.
Yeah.
And that's a skill. It's a skill that can be trained. And the amazing part of this, to bring this full circle before we end, is that I developed that as a survival technique through my hidden little secret. That my little hidden secret required me to walk into 430 Coolidge Avenue when I came home from school and feel the energy of what the hell is going on. And then to manipulate my brothers and my sister and everything else in that environment to keep that time bomb from going off today.
Yes.
And I I became a master at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized if I channel this a different way, oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, I can use this for good in the world. And $1 billion later, I'm certain I figured it out.
I am certain as well. I am certain as well.
I've got 1 billion reasons to believe I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that you were, because you see that, you were able to take all of it and create a gift for yourself, and not just for yourself, but now you literally take it out to the streets, and you teach it to others. So it's just one of those gifts that keeps on giving. It just keeps on giving. It keeps on rippling out. It's changing lives all over the world, not just even the US. It's all over the world that the work that you've done has contributed to other people, and it's beautiful. And I'm so grateful for you and for the work that you've done, for all that you've poured into me.
Well, thank you so much.
And just tell, if somebody wants to connect with you, can you just tell the audience how they can find you?
Yeah, easiest is just to email me. And I'm still one of those guys. I'm old school. I don't do Google Calendar. I've got one of those old-fashioned date books, right? And I also do my own email. So it's just Paul at paulmartinelli.net. And it is a .net email. So sometimes as people start to type it, it automatically fills in .com. That goes to a real estate agent in Canada who I've become friends with over the last 20 years. So it's Paul at paulmartinelli.net. Yeah.
Oh, awesome, Paul. Well, thank you so much
You.
for joining me today and being on the Secret Keeper.
Congratulations again. I remember when this was a baby dream. This was an idea.
Yes.
And I know the shadow that you had to go through in order to step into this light. And I'm so proud of you and so happy for you. And and you're so good at it. And of course you are, right? This is your.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, cheers. Be well. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining the Secret Keepers podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please give us a like and follow so we can invite you back. And if you just want more, visit CorrineZuleger.com. Remember, you're not alone.